It was a Sunday morning. The kind of day where the sun paints the sky gold and you forget for just a moment that the world can be cruel. My wife, Hannah, had just come home from the hospital 2 days ago. She was cradling our newborn daughter, Lily, in her arms. Her eyes glistened with exhaustion and awe, the way new mothers look when they're dancing on the edge of heaven and hell. I was in the kitchen trying to brew a cup of coffee without waking either of them when it happened. Bang. Bang, bang. 3 sharp knocks on the front door, not polite, not neighborly. It sounded more like a warrant being served. I opened the door slowly, and there she stood, Karen, mid-50s, platinum blonde hair that looked like it had been aggressively ironed into shape. Her lips were pursed into a judgmental line, and her arms were folded like she was standing guard at the gates of hell. "Is the baby here?" she asked, without so much as a hello. I blinked. "Excuse me?" She pushed past me like she owned the place, her perfume assaulting the air, and marched straight into our living room. "I heard crying last night," she snapped, looking around with those hawk-like eyes. "I'm the president of the HOA, and that means I'm responsible for keeping this neighborhood peaceful. So where is she?" I moved in front of her. "Karen, you need to leave. My wife just gave birth. We're not disturbing anyone." But she wasn't listening. Her eyes had already locked on Hannah, who had just come into the room, Lily wrapped against her chest in a soft blanket. Hannah looked confused, vulnerable. Karen took a step forward. "I'm going to need you to hand the baby over." The room went cold. Hannah's arms instinctively tightened around Lily. "Excuse me?" she said, trembling. Karen held up a piece of paper. "This is an HOA noise violation. If the baby's crying keeps up, we'll have to file a formal complaint and remove her for the good of the community." I stepped forward slowly. My blood pressure rose with every word. Remove our daughter? What the hell was this woman even saying? "You're not taking our child," I said, voice low and deadly calm. "Now get out of my house." But Karen didn't flinch. She smiled. A horrible, smug smile that made my fists clench. "You don't understand," she said. "You people don't make the rules here." "I do." And then she reached forward toward my baby. Hannah screamed, and just as I moved to grab Karen's wrist, the door burst open. 2 uniformed officers stepped inside. "Mr. Carter?" one asked, eyeing me warily. "We've had a report of domestic disturbance. We need to check on the child." Karen smiled wider, like she had planned this, and I realized we were already in her trap. Time stopped. The officers stood in our doorway, hands resting near their belts, eyes sweeping the room like hawks trained to spot danger. And there we were, my wife clutching our crying newborn, me standing between her and Karen, whose face held the smugness of someone who thought she'd already won. "Domestic disturbance?" I asked, stepping forward. "From who?" One officer glanced at Karen, who immediately put on her best concerned citizen face. "I called," she said sweetly, like venom wrapped in honey. "I heard shouting and crying, and I got worried. There's a newborn here. I thought maybe she wasn't safe." Hannah gasped behind me. "What? That's insane. She just barged in here." Karen ignored her, turning to the officers with a practiced expression. "I tried to talk to them, but the father got aggressive. He wouldn't let me near the baby." I stepped forward, my fists clenched at my sides. "Because you're a stranger trying to take our child." One of the officers raised a hand. "Sir, we just need to check on the child. Make sure everything's okay." "She's fine," Hannah said, her voice shaking but strong. She slowly turned so they could see Lily's face. "See? She's perfect. Warm, clean-fed. We're just tired, that's all." The second officer, a younger man with kinder eyes, nodded slowly. "She does look okay, ma'am," Karen scoffed. "Of course she looks okay now, but you don't know what happens behind closed doors." And that's when I saw it, Karen holding up her phone, swiping through something. "I have recordings from last night, hours of crying. You want to hear it?" She pressed play. A baby's cries filled the room, distorted, looped, too loud to be real. "That's not even our baby," Hannah yelled. "She's barely cried since we got home." But the older officer was already taking notes. "Ma'am, sir." "I'm going." to have to ask you to step aside. We need to contact Child Protective Services to follow protocol. My heart dropped. You're joking? Based on her word? Karen beamed. It's better to be safe than sorry, especially for innocent children. The baby whimpered softly. Hannah's knees buckled as she sat on the couch. Cradling Lily protectively, I turned to the officers, my voice low, cold steel beneath the fury. I'm a retired Navy SEAL. I've seen combat in places you don't even pronounce right. I've held dying friends in my arms and fought to protect the innocent. And now this woman, this neighbor, is accusing me of hurting my wife and child? You better think twice before you let her drag you into something that'll end your career. The younger officer hesitated. Sir? But Karen stepped between us, holding up her phone like a sword. I'll send everything to the HOA board, the county, CPS, the media if I have to. This baby is crying at all hours. People are afraid. They want peace. And then she turned back to the officers. I have witnesses, security footage, a neighborhood petition. I froze. Petition. Karen smirked. Signed by 14 neighbors. Demanding noise restrictions for your property and a formal wellness check on the baby. It wasn't just Karen. She'd rallied them. My throat tightened as the officers stepped out to call child services. And just then, my phone buzzed, a single message from an unknown number. I know what Karen's doing. I have proof. Meet me before. It's too late. The air in the house was thick like breathing through wet concrete. Hannah sat on the couch, arms wrapped protectively around Lily. Her eyes were red, but her expression had shifted. The panic was dying down, replaced by something sharper, rage, a mother's silent war cry. Meanwhile, I stood frozen, staring at that message. I know what Karen's doing. I have proof. Meet me before it's too late. No name, just a location. Pin 3 blocks away. I looked up to see Karen still circling the room like a vulture, spewing her lies to the remaining officer, painting us as unstable, dangerous, unfit. I tucked the phone away and leaned toward Hannah. I have to go. Someone knows something. Her fingers clutched my sleeve. You sure it's not a trap? It might be, I said. But if Karen's setting us up, we need proof. Something to shut her down before CPS gets here. She nodded, swallowing back tears. Be safe. I stepped out into the street, heart thundering in my chest. The sky was darkening, clouds rolling. And like the drama wasn't just ours, but the whole world's now. I followed the location to an old single-story house with peeling paint and lawn gnomes. A screen door creaked open before I knocked. Come in, a voice said. Female, nervous. Inside stood a woman I vaguely recognized, Amanda. She lived 3 houses down. Quiet, mid-30s, kept to herself. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I don't have much time, she said. But you need to see this. She pulled out a tablet, opened a folder labeled HOA Audio Surveillance. What is this? I asked. Amanda chewed her lip. Karen's pet project. She installed illegal audio bugs around the neighborhood. Says. It's for community security, but she's been recording people without consent. Your house too. My stomach dropped. Here, she said, pressing play on one file labeled Carter_compilation. The sound of Lily crying looped, amplified, distorted. Then Karen's voice layered over it. It's always like this. I worry for the baby. She doesn't sound safe. They scream at each other. I'm scared for the whole block. Amanda clicked pause. She's editing recordings, faking them, and sending them to the HOA board and CPS. She thinks if she can prove you're unfit, she can get custody transferred to a foster family she knows personally. What? My voice came out sharp. Why? Amanda's eyes darkened. Karen's sister runs a private foster home. They've been paid to take in certain at-risk babies. She tried the same thing last year with another family. They moved. Karen's name never got brought up. Rage boiled in my chest. This wasn't petty HOA politics anymore. This was trafficking. But if you knew, I asked, why now? Why? Me? Amanda's hand shook as she tapped the screen. Because this time she's going too far. Your wife's not some deadbeat. You're not a nobody. She's picking fights with the wrong family. I looked her dead in the eye. Can you send me all of this? Amanda nodded. Already did. I sent the audio files and Karen's text to your phone, and I blind copied a journalist. You've got maybe an hour before Karen realizes someone's flipped. Outside, a flash of red and blue lit the sky. CPS had arrived, and they were walking up our front steps. By the time I got back, the storm had rolled in, real and metaphorical. Rain streaked down like nature's own tears, tapping angrily against the windows. A white CPS vehicle sat in front of our house, flanked by a second police cruiser. Red and blue lights spun in rhythmic menace. I sprinted up the driveway, fists clenched, mind racing. Every second counted. Inside the living room was chaos. Hannah stood like a shield before the bassinet, hair damp with sweat and rain, holding Lily, as though the earth might split and swallow her whole. Her voice was cracked and raw from shouting, "Don't you dare touch her!" A woman in a Navy CPS jacket stood before her, clipboard in one hand. The other extended like she expected Hannah to hand Lily over on cue. "I'm just following protocol." "Ma'am," she said calmly, like she wasn't about to break our world. "In half. We've received multiple complaints. There's an open investigation now." Karen stood smugly in the corner, arms folded, her expression practically glowing with wicked satisfaction. "She needs to be removed from the home for observation." Karen piped up, "For her safety, they're unstable, dangerous." I stormed. In, touch my daughter again and I'll file charges so fast your clipboard will catch fire." The CPS worker turned, clearly startled. "Mr. Carter?" I nodded. "Yes, and I have proof this entire situation has been fabricated by that woman." I jabbed a finger toward Karen, who blinked. Her expression twitching for the first time, I pulled out my phone and tapped play. The distorted baby cries, the edited audio. Karen's voice narrating her false concern with snake-like sweetness. The room fell into tense silence. I stepped closer to the CPS worker, lowering my voice. "These are from a neighbor who caught her illegally bugging homes in the neighborhood, including ours. She's done this before. She targeted us because we're new parents and tired, that's it." Karen stepped forward, trying to regain control. "That audio could be fake. Anyone could doctor something like that." I held up a second file, her text messages. "From Amanda's screenshots. This baby's worth a fortune to Colleen if we can make them look unstable. Nobody will believe a sleep-deprived mother or a retired jarhead." Gasps echoed around the room. The younger officer, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "We're gonna need to detain you for questioning." "Ma'am," he said, hand already reaching for his cuffs. Karen's face turned white, then beet red. "You can't do this to me." "I am the HOA president." "And I am the mother of this child," Hannah growled, tears streaming down her cheeks as she rocked Lily in her arms. "And I'll burn this whole HOA to the ground before I let you near her again." Karen tried to run, but the cops were faster. The cuffs clicked shut around her wrists. I turned to the CPS worker, who was now watching the scene with wide eyes. "This investigation ends now, right?" She nodded slowly. "Yes. I'll be making some immediate calls." But just as I exhaled, thinking it was all over, my phone buzzed again, a voicemail. From a blocked number. I pressed play, a man's voice, cold, calculating. "Karen may be gone, but this isn't over. We paid for that baby, and we always collect what's ours." The voice in the voicemail sent a chill down my spine. "We paid for that baby, and we always collect what's ours." It was no bluff. There was something in his tone. Too calm, too certain. The kind of evil that doesn't scream, it waits. I stared at the screen, rain still trickling down my jacket. Hannah, standing nearby, caught the look in my eyes. "What is it?" She whispered. I handed her the phone. She listened. Her face went pale. "Oh my God," she said. "This goes deeper than Karen." I nodded, jaw tight. Way deeper. Later that night, after Karen had been hauled away and the police took our statements, we sat in silence. Lily slept between us, her chest rising and falling in soft, shallow breaths. But peace had no place in that room, not now. I got back in touch with Amanda. "Who's we?" I asked her. "Karen said we paid for that baby. Who's backing her? Amanda hesitated. You ever heard of the Magnolia Network? I frowned. What's that? She swallowed. It's not a TV network. It's a private adoption ring that's been operating under the radar. Wealthy couples pay people like Karen to identify vulnerable families, then they engineer legal takedowns. CPS gets involved. Parental rights get stripped. The babies get adopted. I was stunned. She was trying to sell my daughter? Amanda nodded. And it's not just your child. I've been tracking them for months. But I couldn't prove anything. Until now. By morning, I had forwarded everything, audio, screenshots, the voicemail to every law enforcement contact I still had from my SEAL days. Then I made the final call. Carter, said a voice on the other end. Heard you've stirred a hornet's nest. You don't know the half of it, I said. I need protection for my family, and I need this network exposed, he grunted. You've got eyes on your place already. Karen was just a pawn, but the ones who move the real pieces? They don't scare easy. I do, I replied coldly. And I don't plan to hide. That afternoon, our street filled with unmarked vehicles. FBI, DHS, internal investigators. They swept Karen's home, her emails, her HOA records. They unearthed connections to a private adoption firm in another state funds wired. Babies shuffled through the system. It made the evening news. Karen's mugshot flashed across every channel. Suburban HOA president at the center of illegal child trafficking scheme. Hannah clutched Lily a little tighter. She's safe now, she whispered. Right? I looked out the window. Beyond the flashing lights? Beyond the fences? Yes, I said. Because they came for the wrong family. 3 months later, Karen was still behind bars, facing a dozen federal charges. The adoption ring, exposed, torn apart from the inside. All thanks to one message, one whistleblower, and the fury of a mother and father who refused to break. As for me, I'd gone quiet, but not idle. I'd left my Navy SEAL days behind long ago. But now I was building something new, a network. For fathers, for mothers, for families they try to break, and I called it the Lily Line, because the world needs to know, when they come for our children, we don't just fight back. We rise. Subscribe to Karen Whispers for more true inspired dramas where justice isn't given, it's earned. Hit that bell icon so you never miss when the next tale drops.